Diana stood on the deck of the old, creaking ship, the cool ocean breeze whipping through her hair as she gazed out at the endless expanse of water stretching out before her. The moon hung low in the sky, casting a pale light over the deck and the tattered sails that strained against the wind. As the captain of the ship, Diana was used to the eerie stillness that settled over the vessel at night, but tonight there was an extra chill in the air that sent shivers down her spine. She couldn't shake the feeling that they were not alone out here on the open sea. The crew members whispered of a curse that had befallen the ship many years ago, when it had been caught in a ferocious storm and lost at sea. Since then, the ship had become known as the Ghost Ship, rumored to be haunted by the spirits of all those who had perished on board. Diana tried to dismiss these superstitious thoughts from her mind as she paced the deck, but a sense of unease gnawed at her. Suddenly, a shadow flickered in the corner of her eye, disappearing as quickly as it had appeared. She spun around, heart pounding in her chest, but there was nothing there. Shaking her head, Diana chided herself for letting her imagination run wild. She was a fearless pirate, hardened by years at sea and countless battles. She would not be spooked by mere ghost stories. But as the night wore on, strange things began to happen on the ship. Objects moved on their own. Echoing footsteps sounded from empty corridors, and eerie whispers drifted through the air. Diana's crew grew more and more agitated, their eyes wide with fear, determined to get to the bottom of these disturbances. Diana set out to investigate the lower decks of the ship, where the crew claimed the ghosts were most active. The wooden planks groaned beneath her boots as she descended into the dark, musty hold. As she made her way through the labyrinthine halls, a cold wind brushed against her skin, carrying with it a faint, otherworldly moan. Diana's grip tightened on her cutlass as she rounded a corner and came face to face with a figure cloaked in shadow. Her blood ran cold as she realized it was not a crew member playing a prank, but a ghostly apparition. Its eyes empty sockets that seemed to pierce right through her. Before she could react, the ghost let out a bone-chilling wail that echoed through the ship, sending Diana's crew running in terror. Alone in the darkness with the vengeful spirit, Diana knew that she was facing a danger unlike any she had encountered before. As the ghost floated towards her with outstretched arms, a chilling realization dawned on her. The curse of the ghost ship was all too real, and she was its next target. As the ghostly figure advanced towards Diana, its ethereal form shimmering in the dim light of the hold, she braced herself for what seemed like an inevitable confrontation. The chill in the air grew more intense, sending shivers down her spine as she stood firm, her hand gripping the hilt of her cutlass tightly. The ghost let out another haunting wail, its voice echoing with sorrow and anger. Diana felt a wave of fear wash over her, but she refused to let it paralyze her. Drawing on her courage and determination, she squared her shoulders and spoke in a firm voice.
"Who are you? What do you want?"
The ghost's hollow eyes bore into her, and for a moment there was a flicker of recognition in its gaze. It opened its mouth as if to speak, but only a hollow, chilling sound emerged. Diana felt a pang of sympathy for the lost soul trapped in this spectral form, but she knew she couldn't afford to show any weakness in the face of such malevolent power. With a sudden burst of determination, Diana raised her cutlass and took a step forward, the blade glinting in the faint light. The ghost recoiled slightly, its form wavering as if uncertain how to respond to this show of defiance. Diana pressed her advantage, her voice ringing out with commanding authority.
"Leave this ship, spirit. You have no power here."
To her surprise, the ghost hesitated, its form growing fainter, as if struggling against an unseen force. For a moment, there was a glimmer of hope that Diana's words had reached the lost soul, and that it might find peace at last. But just as quickly, the ghost let out a chilling shriek, its form solidifying once more as it lunged towards her with an otherworldly fury. Diana deftly parried the ghost's spectral claws, her cutlass slashing through the air with practiced skill. The clash of steel against incorporeal matter reverberated through the hold, filling the space with a cacophony of unearthly sounds. Despite the ghost's ghostly strength and eerie resilience, Diana refused to yield, her every move calculated and fierce. With each strike, she felt a surge of adrenaline coursing through her veins, her senses heightened to a razor-sharp focus. The ghost seemed to grow weaker with each blow, its form flickering and fading as if on the brink of dissipating into the ether. Diana knew that she had the upper hand, but she also knew that ghosts were not easily vanquished. As the battle raged on, the ship itself seemed to shudder and groan, as if the very fabric of reality was being torn asunder. Diana glimpsed fleeting shadows darting in the corners of her vision, whispering voices that seemed to taunt and tempt her. She knew that the curse of the ghost ship went deeper than she had ever imagined, and that the spirit she faced was just one of many malevolent entities lurking in the shadows. But Diana was not one to back down from a challenge, especially when the lives of her crew were at stake. With a final decisive strike, she plunged her cutlass directly into the heart of the ghost. A blinding light erupting from the point of impact, the ghost let out one last, ear-splitting shriek before dissipating into a cloud of shimmering mist that vanished into the darkness. Breathing heavily, Diana stood amidst the fading echoes of the battle, her heart pounding in her chest. The curse of the ghost ship had been momentarily thwarted, but she knew that this was far from the end of their haunted voyage. The true horrors that lay ahead would test her courage and resolve to their limits, pushing her to the brink of her sanity. As the echoes of the battle with the ghost faded into the darkness of the ship, Diana braced herself for the next challenge that awaited her on the cursed vessel. The crew had gathered on the deck, their faces pale and somber, their eyes darting nervously as they whispered among themselves about the haunting events that had transpired. Determined to rally her crew and maintain some semblance of order amidst the chaos, Diana raised her voice above the murmurs, her tone firm and commanding.
We must press on, regardless of the dangers that lurk on this ship. We will not be overcome by fear or superstition. We are pirates, and we will prevail.
Her words seemed to steady the crew, instilling a renewed sense of purpose and resolve. They nodded in agreement, their expressions defiant as they prepared themselves for whatever trials lay ahead. But as the night wore on, the shadows seemed to grow deeper, the air heavy with the weight of unseen malevolence. Whispers drifted through the corridors of the ship, indistinct murmurs that seemed to beckon and taunt. Diana knew that they were not alone on the ghost ship, that other supernatural entities lurked in the darkness, waiting to strike. She gritted her teeth, her hand never straying far from the hilt of her cutlass as she prowled the decks, her senses on high alert. A sense of foreboding settled over the crew as they huddled together, seeking solace and protection in their numbers. Each passing moment seemed to stretch into an eternity, the oppressive silence broken only by the occasional creak of the ship's timbers and the distant sound of waves crashing against the hull. Suddenly, a piercing scream shattered the stillness, echoing through the corridors with a bone-chilling intensity. Diana's blood ran cold as she recognized the voice. It was one of her crewmates, a young sailor named Thomas, who had been stationed in the lower decks. Without hesitation, she sprinted towards the source of the sound, her heart pounding in her chest. As she descended into the dark bowels of the ship, a sense of dread washed over her, the air thick with the stench of decay and the echo of moans and whispers that seemed to seep from the very walls themselves. The shadows seemed to coil around her, tendrils of darkness that clawed at her resolve. When she finally reached the lower decks, she found Thomas huddled in a corner, his eyes wide with terror, his body trembling uncontrollably. He stammered out disjointed words, his voice a mere whisper.
It was there. The ghost. It spoke to me.
Diana knelt beside him, offering a reassuring hand on his shoulder as she scanned the shadows for any sign of the supernatural presence that had tormented him. But there was nothing there, only darkness and silence that seemed to press in on them from all sides. She knew that they were not safe, that the ghost ship held many secrets and malevolent entities that would stop at nothing to drive them mad. Determined to protect her crew and uncover the truth behind the curse that bound them to this accursed vessel, Diana steeled herself for the trials that lay ahead, ready to face whatever horrors awaited them in the shadows. With the whispers of unseen entities still echoing in the darkness of the ship, Diana led her crew through the labyrinthine corridors of the ghost ship, their footsteps muffled by the oppressive silence that seemed to press in on them from all sides. Each shadowy corner held the promise of new terrors, the air heavy with the weight of centuries-old curses. As they pressed on, a sense of growing unease settled over the crew, their eyes darting nervously at flickering shadows and strange sounds that seemed to emanate from nowhere. But Diana refused to let fear overtake her, her resolve as unyielding as the steel of her cutlass as she remained vigilant, her senses attuned to the slightest hint of danger. The ship itself seemed to pulse with a malevolent energy, the timbers groaning and shuddering as if animated by some unseen force. Strange symbols and sigils adorned the walls, flickering in and out of existence, like phantoms as they passed, their meaning lost to time but their ominous presence clear. Suddenly, a chilling wind swept through the corridors, carrying with it the mournful echo of a familiar voice. Diana froze in her tracks, her pulse quickening as she recognized the spectral figure that materialized before them, the ghost she had faced in the hold. Its form twisted and contorted with rage, with a hollow, echoing voice that sent shivers down their spines. The ghost spoke, its words laden with centuries-old sorrow and despair.
You cannot escape the curse that binds us, pirate. This ship is our prison, and you are but a fleeting visitor in our realm.
Diana squared her shoulders, her grip tightening on her cutlass, as she met the ghost's empty gaze with a steely resolve.
I will not be cowed by your threats, spirit. We will break this curse, no matter the cost.
The ghost let out a bone-chilling laugh, the sound reverberating through the ship like a harbinger of doom. Shadows danced around them, twisting and writhing in a macabre display that seemed to mock their struggle against the forces of the supernatural. But Diana and her crew stood firm, their unity and determination a beacon of light in the darkness. As the ghost lunged towards them with a ferocious intensity, Diana raised her cutlass, its blade gleaming in the faint light as she prepared to face her final test. The crew rallied behind her, their voices raised in a defiant chorus that reverberated through the ship, a testament to their strength and bravery in the face of unimaginable horrors. The clash of steel against incorporeal matter filled the air, the ghost's form flickering and shifting as if waging a battle against the inexorable pull of the curse that bound it to the ship. Diana fought with a fierce determination, her every move a calculated dance of skill and precision honed through years of pirating on the high seas. With a final decisive strike, she drove her cutlass deep into the heart of the ghost, a blinding light erupting from the point of impact. The ship shuddered and groaned, the shadows retreating into the corners, as the curse that had plagued them for so long finally began to unravel. As the spectral presence dissipated into nothingness, a sense of peace settled over the ghost ship, the oppressive darkness lifting like a veil that had been torn asunder. Diana and her crew stood amidst the fading echoes of their final battle, victorious in their struggle against the forces of the supernatural. With the curse broken and the ship now free from its haunted past, Diana and her crew set sail once more, the wind filling the tattered sails as they charted a course towards a new horizon. The ghost ship faded into the mist behind them, its secrets and mysteries consigned to the depths of the ocean, a tale of horror and redemption that would be whispered about for generations to come. And so, the story of Diana, the woman pirate on a haunted ship, came to a close. Her courage and resilience, a beacon of hope in the face of darkness and despair. But the memory of their harrowing voyage would linger on, a reminder of the thin veil that separates the world of the living from the realm of the dead, where ghostly whispers still echo in the night.